We're in the Lexus LS500h. It's the hybrid flavor of the LS500.
Are you seeing this? Are you seeing this?
So
yeah, I'm being driven. That doesn't happen on this show. That never happens on this show. Yeah.
All right, so I want to divide this up into two experiences. First of all is the driving experience, of course. The second of all is the passenger experience.
Which is much better. It's much better. It's much better.
It kind of is. And
Thoroughly
every time I get in the
enjoying
car,
myself
I want to floor it. I want this thing to go as fast as it can. I want to push the pedal as hard as it goes, as far as it goes.
I'm going to lay down while we're here.
All right.
Oh, hey, look at that. I heard that, yeah, okay. See, okay, now I am just business class back here. You don't need me, right? I can just sit here.
You're watching Everyday Driver. We make a TV show, podcast,
and YouTube channels dedicated to great cars, driving adventures, and helping you find a car you'll love.
subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss a thing.
Todd is being driven currently, obviously.
I am, yeah.
And this thing is equipped with the 3.5 liter V6 that is pretty much in everything. And by the way, guess what? I found out when you switch to sport mode, the sound is piped in. Stop it. The sound is piped in.
I'm not gonna stop it.
When you're under hard acceleration, you go to Sport and Sport Plus, which you really needed in this car, it actually gets piped in. It gets louder and not in a good way.
Well, this 3.5 liter V6
Not
is
good.
twin turboed in the normal version, and it has over 400 horsepower in that version.
And it does have the F Sport, and it's great.
You can get it
sort
that
of
way,
like
yes.
the AMG.
But here it is, the 3.5 liter V6, but not turboed, and adding 2 electric motors, and it gets all told like 360 horsepower. It's not a ton.
354.
So there you go.
Which
and
is pushing a 5,200 pound
that's
car.
the key thing. Over 5,000 pound car. And that's because of things like I'm dealing with right now, which is seats and madness, and you know, because this of course has the luxury package, which is about a $13,000 ad.
28 way power seats in the front, at least. 20,
yeah, well now I just needed that one out of the
28.
way, and that's nice. I got it out of the way.
Needed that. It squeezes you and bunches
Easy.
everything back
Easy.
there. But the executive package is $23,000
because it
has
has
the glass.
It has glass here.
The glass was introduced into the cockpit, and it's really something nobody else can do, because let's go back to where Lexus was back in 1989 when they pretty much copied the Mercedes S-Class.
I'm going to be just playing with the seat the whole time you're talking, just so you know. It's going to be fine.
There's controls and all kinds of
yeah.
stuff. The Carrico glass option is part of the executive package for $23,000. So you can buy either a Civic Si or the glass.
or just special glass right here, yes.
Now, for the passenger experience, I've said before about luxury is time or space, but it's also materials and attention to detail. And so even though this car does not have that glass option, it does have the patterns in the seats and the hand-tufted tufted door panels. I used tufted in a sentence.
You did, and I don't think you should. Honestly,
No.
we should not drive cars like this if you end up saying things like tufted. That's not okay.
They're tufted in the door
not
panels
okay.
right here.
Yeah.
So you still get those stitched lines, which you think, oh, details, and it actually corresponds to every other styling element, interior and exterior, which is pretty impressive. So we've got this luxurious experience, and you know, you've got to have more.
There's nothing I can do to help myself. I may have a mirror, but it doesn't matter.
Options, heated and cooled. Are those cooled back there too?
They are heated, cooled, all of the above. I can get the front seat out of the way. I can do the executive I'm being driven thing, which makes me think about ride, but you're not there yet. We got to talk about ride and handling, and that's
I'm going to punch it up the hill, by the way, because you need to hear the engine sound that is part of the car experience. Again, 3.5 liter V6, twin electric motors helping everything out, all pushed through an eCVT. I think this is the most horsepower so far I've ever heard of being pushed through a CVT.
It's got a CVT, then married to a 4-speed automatic. Then it goes to the
Yes, then
wheels.
there's the 4-speed
So you're
drive,
actually dealing
final
with
drive.
2 transmissions, neither of which on their own would be good. That's what I find hysterical. This has 2 marginal transmissions. You would never buy a car with a 4-speed automatic. You just would never do that. You don't want to buy a car with a CVT. We've given you a CVT and a 4-speed automatic just so you can have both experiences in one car. And then the other thing that's amazing is the sound when you ask for everything from this car. You have the sound of the gasoline motor, which this gasoline motor just doesn't happen to sound very good. Then you have the screaming wail of the electric motor laid on top of that. So we all have to listen to the fact that you have both of the bad sounds surprisingly loud in this car.
Yes, it's actually not tinnitus in your ear, it's the electric motors. You're going to think, what is that? Dang it, what is that sound? So we're in normal, customized mode here. Even that doesn't sound great. But listen.
You added a vacuum whir on top of a marginal
the entire car
V6
just sort of
noise.
like bunches its skirt up and like surges forward. Listen
you know
to that.
what? When you know it's 5,200 pounds, it
That is
actually
not
moves
pretty.
better than you think it should. I will give it that. I think it moves better than you think it should when you realize it's just a V6.
It's just
with
a V6,
less than
yes.
400 horsepower, and it's 5,200 pounds. Those numbers do not equate in my mind that it would ever feel the least bit like it can gather its skirt
I'm
up.
going to
But
Sport
it can.
Plus.
Yeah.
Oh. And hopefully you can hear that really kind of ugly sound. In a car this expensive and luxurious, shouldn't it sound amazing? Shouldn't it actually just make the aural delight? You're looking at glass and leather and trim and stitching and the herringbone pattern and
Let me go another way, though.
everything. It should be beautiful at every stage.
I think it should be a beautiful experience, but let me go another direction. I think the issue is not the fact that it should sound better. I think you should hear less. If I'm back here wanting to be driven like this, wanting to just experience being driven and have the luxury, I don't want to hear it at all. I want to hear as little as possible, and I am surprised. Granted, this is the reality of the hybrid too, but I am surprised that I can hear as much as I can. Even from back here I can hear it, and it is that dual noise at once. I mean, I'm going to use the word noise. It's not sound, it's noise. And also, when you go by other cars that have got their own noise, you can hear them pretty clearly. I would expect in a car like this, based on the market segment we're talking about, it should be very luxurious and I should be insulated from sound, and I am not, and the sounds this car are making I think are just too loud.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I'm thinking about the sound and associated with speed, because it doesn't feel like this car is fast. In a weird way, it doesn't feel like it's really, on it and it has a lot of speed inside of it, which is what a giant sedan, like luxurious, fast, powerful, top of the line sedan should be. It's because of the giant maw Predator grille that's pretty much slowing everything down with the air intake.
You think that's the downside?
Feels like the entire hybrid powertrain is preventing it from actually getting moving, and it feels like there's resistance underneath the car. It doesn't just shoot down the road and you think, I'm, fast, luxurious, comfortable.
I feel like it plays...
It's just the passenger experience. That's where it's at.
For sure. I think it plays to that old Rolls-Royce adage of it has enough. It's not about the number, it's about having enough so that you can get moving and get rolling. But if I'm going to play in that world, I don't want to be bothered by it. And I think noise-wise, it's a bit of a bother.
I discovered this cool little trick. At the very top of the detent of the power window switches in the rear.
Watch it, there's a camera here. There's a camera here. Now you're rolling the window down with a camera on it. Send the window back up. That was fun.
Hey, look at that.
Yes.
Took the camera out and everything.
Yeah, you did. It's all good.
Hey.
We're doing camera moves. Brought to you by Lexus.
Did it stay on?
Yes.
All right.
Oh, now I have to drive. My seatbelt receptacle has just retracted. I know that sounds stupid, but honestly, okay, I'm gonna back up. Isn't that nice? I'm gonna back up. When the Lexus LFA came out, there was a discussion among multiple journalists, but most famously Jeremy Clarkson, that it was difficult to find the seatbelt receptacle.
Okay.
He talked about it, but I actually read it elsewhere, that it was kind of buried down there and hard to find. Clearly Lexus has listened to that, but I hate to say this also. Lexus has listened to who its market segment is, which apparently is old and fat. Because I hate to say it, because you're having trouble finding the seatbelt receptacle. And I know that because when you open the door, the seatbelt receptacle gets excited about the fact that you've arrived to drive it. It extends itself. And this is remarkably phallic. And what I can't believe is...
It's quick. It's all about
easy. Yeah,
right
it's
here.
Whoa, yay! What I can't believe here is... It has taken its Viagra. What I can't believe here, though, is honestly that when they did that thinking, it was clearly for their market segment. Let's make it easier to buckle yourself into the car. I get that. But nobody in the discussion, no one actually thought, is that wrong? Does that look raunchy and inappropriate? That never got discussed, apparently, because it does this every time you open the car.
If it did, because it does it on both seats.
I know.
If this did get discussed...
Yes.
The comfort overrode any other discussion.
This is fair. This is fair, yes.
Ease of access, we'll say, overrode any other conversation, and it won. Can we please rant about the interface that has not gone away yet on Lexus? It's so terrible that when it doesn't work slightly, the problem is the one swipe that doesn't work to get to the thing that you want, like, which is every menu option ever, including all the seat options that are not available on the controls on the side of your seat.
No.
If you accidentally just don't, you miss it or you didn't get it quite right, it distracts you from driving. So you look down and now you're frustrated and your attention is off the road. It's beyond terrible. It does not belong in a car of this caliber. And, in a car of this caliber, it is all about the passenger experience. You have an entire screen back here. If you push the home button here, ooh, you've been playing with the seat.
I love it. Big time, yes.
All the seat adjustment is back here, so that makes for actually quite a bit smaller trunk because there's 2 seat sort of bucket-shaped cutouts where you can slide down and the seat has to adjust. The trunk is so small in this car, it's unbelievable.
It's tiny. And
it doesn't belong in a car like this.
It was one of the big surprises I had in actually first getting in this car is that we would be hard-pressed to put both of them, we'll have to show it, both of our camera bags are overhead bin-sized camera bags. Getting both of those in this trunk, you filled it. Now, when you think about a large executive cruiser that we're going to take on a road trip and I'm going to get driven somewhere, you want space. You want to put all your bags back there so people can take your bags.
If there's 4 of you with bags in the car, ain't happening.
If there's
you're
2
renting a
of
van.
you're taking a luxury vacation, you're not going to get your 2 big bags in the back. It's not going to happen. When we had that Honda Insight, you could put big bags in the back. It was a Honda Insight.
Yeah,
this
true.
you couldn't.
Wow, this feels floaty when you turn in.
Oh, yeah.
Giant steps down the road here.
All Sport Plus it.
Awesome.
That comes back to the thing about this. Obviously, this is not a car for you and me. We are not the target audience.
We've got to establish
My
that.
mother-in-law has owned a string of Lexi. She saw this car last week, and I watched her fall in love in real time. She just from the moment she saw it. She is the target audience. She obviously is retired. She has a Lexus. She loves it. She had one of the first generation LS when they came out. She loved this car. So Lexus has hit their target market perfectly. Yeah. And that's not who you and I are. But then I start to think about what do I want or what do I think should be necessary in a car like this? And I think if you're going to be driven, it needs to be an isolation chamber.
It's kind of weird being driven. I haven't been driven like this.
Yeah, it needs to be really quiet, and this engine isn't. And I also think, and this was a big surprise to me when I first drove this, I don't think this rides very well.
Yeah, it's interesting riding from the passenger seat, having driven it and feeling, the air suspension adjust between Sport Plus, Comfort, and then feeling that same thing back here in the passenger seat. I think it gets thudding and heavy and uncomfortable the more the road demands it. When it's straight and smooth and you're floating along, fine. I mean, it's a long wheelbase, that automatically smooths out the ride right there. Yeah. But it should be better. It's fine back here, but yeah, when the suspension is really compressing, it just gets real tight and uncomfortable. Well, it should be more compliant.
I found at freeway speeds, there was a buzzy nature to this ride. It felt like constant adjustment, buzzy nature. And I want to glide. And this is the stereotype, I want that ride that Cadillac used to brag about. Where nothing in the world affects me because I'm in a Cadillac. Now, they haven't survived in that, but that used to be their reputation. It's the thing that honestly Rolls-Royce maintains now. But when you have one of these big luxury barges, I think about Mercedes does a good job with this. Because we had a little tiny Mercedes wagon in Germany this year. And it was their little, what was it? The CLA
250
wagon.
4MATIC, brand new.
But not
2020.
big, lower end of their lineup. And when that was in comfort mode, it soaked up everything. And then it had a sporty mode that felt like this car feels like, which is kind of buzzy. And
but look, it was surprising though.
And I have to say, that buzzy ride I'm talking about, that's not a Sport Plus feature. If I go to normal or even Eco, I think Eco comfort mode is the closest to what I want this car to ride like, but it's still not comfortable enough. I know we sound like we're being hard on this car. We are being hard on this car, but here's the thing.
But for $107,000?
And I am looking for it to be great at everything but driving. I want it to be great right there.
It didn't feel, when it settled, it didn't feel compliant. It just felt stiff like a board.
It just doesn't have good dynamic control, and it doesn't soak up the road as well as I would like it to for a $107,000 luxury barge that is about being driven, not driving.
And, the other criteria for being in this car, sound. You were talking about being quiet and not hearing the road noise and not hearing the car itself.
Yep.
Okay, so it's got a 23-speaker Mark Levinson stereo.
There's an upside.
We rarely talk about stereos because who cares? It's the radio. You can upgrade, not with this car, because it comes with one of the most amazing sounds
stunning.
I've ever heard.
Yes.
I have
Yes.
heard nuances in some of my favorite
Agreed.
songs
Agreed.
I've never heard. I didn't know were in the song.
I agree with you.
23 speakers.
They're everywhere.
Speakers.
Yes, up here.
Everywhere
Yep.
around
Yep.
you.
Totally agree.
2,400 watts of power. At this level, again, you're talking about experience. It should be that good.
Yes.
It should be
Yes, and it is.
soundstage orchestra. Okay, so high marks for that. But think about the long-term aspect of this car. If you're putting glass in this car, I mean, think about this car 10 years from now, 20 years. Is it still going to be as desirable and relevant, or are we going to be harvesting art pieces out of the the glass? Like, ooh, this will look nice on my shelf. Rip.
This will
You know,
be
from
relevant.
a junkyard. I think of that
Yeah.
because of product design. It's terrible, but product designers have to realize anything you design is going to hit the landfill at some point.
Fair.
It's
Fair.
hard to think of that
Yeah.
in new car terms when you're putting craftsmanship in it like this.
In 10 years, here's the difference. In 10 years, and those of you that are screaming at your screen, I'm coming for you now. In 10 years, this will still be running like it does right now, and the Mercedes and the Audis and the BMWs will need money poured at them. That is the big difference.
Probably so,
But
I hope not.
Right now,
I hope not.
brand new, I think that stereo is covering up the fact that it isn't luxurious enough or quiet enough when it's new.
In all of this stuff, we're talking about craftsmanship. I want everything you interact with to feel like it's made for 50 years or longer. Like milled out of ingot quality, solid, amazing
In this
stuff.
expensive stuff, it should. Yeah.
The exterior door handles do not. And I am judging the car by the door slam. Yes, it has the power retractable. You click it shut and it sucks everything in.
Yeah.
But when you close the door, just interact with the handle. It's not the material itself. It's the plastic pins and the hinges on which it rides. It jiggles, it moves. Things don't seem solid. It still seems on the level of Toyota. It still seems like it's on the level of Toyota. Which tells me, is this just the world's best rideshare? Is this just a leather-coated, oversized Prius because it's a hybrid and it does those hybrid things and it
Yikes.
drives heavy?
Duck, they're throwing stuff now.
I know.
Duck.
I like it for the experience. I want it to feel more solid. I mean, the handle itself feels solid. The hinge that it rides on doesn't.
But honestly, at this point, we aren't looking for driving experience.
No,
We're looking
you can't.
for
You
luxury
can't.
ride experience. I'm going to go around the roundabout an extra time.
Fine
because
with
I
that.
can. Yeah, here we go. I'm in comfort mode.
Wow.
Okay.
I'm going to be up against the
There's
glass here.
But here's the thing. I'm in comfort mode, and there's lots of body roll in this huge luxurious car because, of course, there is.
Well,
okay?
sure.
I don't care about that. I am concerned about the fact that the car needs to be quiet and really luxurious, and the stereo exceeds any expectation I have. It's cool to have all of that room over there, but I also think if you're just sitting here or you're driving, it should have a smoother ride, and it should be quieter, especially at $107,000.
Well, there's stereos for your house that cost more than $107,000, like anything Macintosh builds. So if you really want to spend money on a stereo, just buy this cheaper. Go sit in your car, and you can really hear things you never heard
Buy
before.
a used LS. Don't get the extra $13,000 rear seat package, but be sure you spend the $2,000 or $3,000 for the Mark Levinson stereo. Be happy.
It is nice back here.
Yes, it is. It is nice. It's just it needs to have a better ride. So what are we saying here? Lexus LS, buy the stereo?
Buy the stereo.